My sister is severely autistic, and I have been hating her for a long time. I never imagined I'd find myself typing these words out in a public forum, bearing my soul with nothing but a keyboard and a hope for some understanding. I grew up with a secret, one that I've harbored deep inside me for as long as I can remember. My sister, Emily, was born with severe autism. Even as a child, I knew she was different. While I was taught to be kind and empathetic, there was an undercurrent of resentment, something I couldn't fully comprehend until I was older. Today, I feel compelled to share my story and ask, am I the asshole for the way I've come to feel about her? It started in our early years, when every family gathering became a constant struggle. Emily's unique needs meant that our parents were always preoccupied, leaving me to fend for myself. I was never given the validation or understanding that I needed, and that absence festered into a bitterness I couldn't shake. I was left alone with a sense of abandonment as I watched her receive more attention, more care. While I felt invisible, school was no refuge either. The whispers of teachers and classmates who pitted our family only deepened the divide in my own heart. I felt trapped between wanting to be seen and simultaneously resenting the constant reminder of what I didn't have. I kept my emotions bottled up until, one day, I couldn't contain them any longer. In a moment of raw vulnerability, I lashed out verbally at her in a fit of anger, a moment I would forever regret, yet one that revealed a darker truth within me. As I sat in the quiet of my small, cluttered bedroom, I began to realize that the hatred I felt wasn't solely about jealousy or neglect. It was something more complicated, a mixture of sorrow, guilt, and a sense of overwhelming responsibility that I wasn't ready to bear. Emily's unpredictable behaviors, her sudden outbursts, and the constant fear of what might happen next left me feeling stranded in a reality that was too heavy to carry alone. And yet, the anger never left. It lingered, coiling in the shadows of my mind like a serpent, reminding me of everything I resented about our shared life. I often wondered if anyone else in a similar situation could understand. Is it wrong to feel this way? Am I the asshole for despising the very person who, in many ways, is beyond my control? I ask myself, can resentment be justified when love, duty, and pain all intersect in the same heart? The nights are long, and the silence of my room is filled with the echo of my inner turmoil. I desperately want to be free from the hate, yet it has become part of who I am. I'm reaching out to this community in the hope that someone, somewhere, might offer me a glimmer of clarity. Maybe there's a way to reconcile these conflicting emotions, guilt, resentment, love, and perhaps even to forgive myself for feeling this way. I'm not looking for easy answers, just some honest advice from those who have walked a similar path. Am I the asshole? I'm not sure, but I know that something has to change before I lose myself completely. I spent the following days haunted by the responses that flooded in. Some comments were filled with empathy, others with challenging questions that forced me to re-examine every painful memory. One comment in particular struck me deeply. A user wrote, "I understand that your feelings are complex. Resentment mixed with guilt is common when dealing with a family member who needs so much care. Have you considered seeking professional guidance to untangle these emotions?" Their words made me pause. I had been so consumed by my own anger that I hadn't truly considered that the solution might lie in confronting and understanding these emotions rather than suppressing them. Another comment suggested, maybe there's more to your story than just resentment. Sometimes, the burden of caregiving can lead to self-neglect and unresolved grief. Look at the small moments. What do they tell you about your true feelings? This advice forced me to take a hard look at the fragmented memories I had stored away over the years. There were moments when I had cared for Emily in subtle ways. A gentle touch when she was upset. The way I sometimes shielded her from the harsher realities of our world. And yet, those moments were buried under layers of anger. The community's reflections and advice blended with my own memories, sparking an internal dialogue that was as raw as it was necessary. In the quiet aftermath of that initial post, I began to piece together the shards of my broken past. The comments, both compassionate and critical, were like mirrors reflecting back parts of myself I'd long ignored. I started writing in a journal, detailing the small, everyday encounters with Emily that I had dismissed as trivial. I remembered the time she had thrown herself into a pile of autumn leaves, laughing with pure abandon, and how her smile, fleeting yet genuine, had momentarily melted the hardness in my heart. But those moments were swiftly overshadowed by the overwhelming sense of inadequacy I felt. Being the one left to manage the fallout of her unpredictable behavior, of our fractured family dynamics. Point one particular comment read, "It sounds like you're carrying a weight that isn't solely yours to bear. Have you ever tried opening up to someone who understands both sides of this family dynamic?" Their words nudged me towards considering the possibility of reaching out to a trusted friend from my past, someone who had a way of seeing both the light and the darkness in people. I reached out to my old mentor, a kind soul who had always pushed me to confront my truths rather than hide from them. Our conversation was long and tearful, and for the first time in years, I felt the first stirrings of hope that perhaps I wasn't alone. To eye in those reflections, I began to see that the hatred wasn't just about my sister. It was about the cumulative pain of feeling overlooked, of not knowing where I belonged in a family defined by struggle. The advice I received on Reddit became a lifeline, slowly guiding me toward a path of self-discovery and healing. I started exploring therapy, community support groups, and even creative outlets to channel the pent-up emotion that had defined my existence for so long. Every comment, every suggestion, became a stepping stone toward understanding that perhaps my resentment was not a sign of weakness, but a call for help, a desperate plea for someone to help me untangle the complex web of my feelings. It was during this time that unexpected events began to unfurl, events that would force me to re-examine every assumption I had about our family and myself. One rainy evening, while sorting through old family albums, I discovered a set of letters hidden away in a dusty box. These weren't just any letters. They were written by our late mother, addressing the struggles she had faced raising two very different children in a tumultuous household. In them, she wrote about her own feelings of inadequacy, her desperate attempts to love us both equally, and her secret hopes that one day we would find forgiveness and understanding for one another. Her words, tender and sorrowful, challenged everything I had come to believe about my own emotions. In that quiet moment, the weight of my long-held resentment began to shift. The letters painted a picture of a mother who loved deeply but was overwhelmed by the complexities of life, a woman who, despite her best efforts, was unable to bridge the gap between two children who were worlds apart. I found myself questioning if my own anger was truly justified, or if it was simply a mask for the grief and confusion I had never allowed myself to confront. The Reddit community's advice had sparked a chain reaction within me, a willingness to face the uncomfortable truths that I had long buried beneath years of bitterness. Over time, as I continued to reflect on those comments and the letters I discovered, I began to see that every piece of advice, every kind word from strangers, was an invitation to rethink my narrative. I started to document the small changes in my perspective, the subtle shifts that occurred when I allowed myself to be vulnerable. My journey was far from linear. There were setbacks and moments of intense sorrow, but slowly, I began to believe that healing was possible. And with that belief came the courage to share more of my story, to invite further discussion and support from a community that had become my unexpected sanctuary. I never expected that the process of sharing my deepest frustrations would lead to such profound, life-altering revelations. In the wake of my original post and the flood of heartfelt comments, I embarked on a journey of self-discovery that uncovered secrets I'd long kept hidden, even from myself. As I began to piece together my fragmented identity, the community's advice continued to guide me, seamlessly blending into the narrative of my everyday experiences. One evening, as I sat in a quiet cafe with my journal spread out before me, I recalled a comment that had resonated with me. Your pain is not just yours. It's interwoven with the love and loss of your family's past. Sometimes, understanding where you come from is the key to finding your path forward. That evening, as I flipped through the old letters from our mother, I found a reference to a long-forgotten family secret, a hidden chapter in our history that no one had spoken about. According to those fragile pages, there had been another child, a brother who had been given up for adoption shortly after birth. This revelation shook the very foundations of my understanding of our family. Suddenly, my narrative of resentment and isolation was being rewritten by an unforeseen twist that promised new dimensions of healing and hope. The discovery forced me to confront the possibility that the anger I'd harbored for so long might have roots in a deeper, more complex family dynamic. In the quiet moments following this revelation, I found myself questioning everything. Had my feelings been misdirected? Could it be that my resentment was, in some ways, a reflection of the unresolved grief and abandonment that our family had endured? As I mulled over these questions, more Reddit users chimed in with advice that now seemed prophetic. One user remarked, "Sometimes, our hardest battles are with the ghosts of our past. Uncovering family secrets might be painful, but it's also the first step toward reclaiming your narrative." Their words, though simple, carried the weight of truth that I had been denying. That I reached out to our estranged father after mustering the courage to ask about the missing piece of our family puzzle. His initial hesitance gave way to a torrent of emotions as he recounted the decisions made decades ago, choices that were driven by fear, shame, and the overwhelming uncertainty of raising children in a world that seemed too cruel and complicated. In our long, tearful conversation, he admitted that the decision to give up my brother was made in a moment of desperation, a choice that haunted him every day. This unexpected confession was a turning point for me. I realized that the resentment I had felt toward my sister was, in many ways, a proxy for the unresolved anger and confusion I had felt about my entire upbringing. Armed with this new perspective, I dove headfirst into therapy and family counseling. The journey was arduous and fraught with moments of deep despair, but it also revealed a startling truth. The hatred I had carried for Emily was intricately connected to my own unhealed wounds. Each session peeled back layers of emotional armor, exposing raw memories of neglect, abandonment, and self-blame. Yet, in these moments of vulnerability, I also discovered the possibility of redemption, a chance to love not only my sister, but also myself. One piece of advice that continued to echo in my mind came from a comment I'd reread often. Healing begins when you accept that every emotion has a purpose. Your anger is telling you something about your need for care and understanding. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it guide you towards self-compassion. I began to internalize those words, and gradually, I found myself forgiving Emily for the things I thought were her fault, and forgiving myself for the bitterness that had consumed me. I even started volunteering at local support groups for families dealing with autism, using my own journey as a bridge to help others navigate similar emotions. Yet, the twists in my life were not limited to family secrets and emotional breakthroughs. One crisp autumn morning, as I was walking through a park that had witnessed countless moments of my internal battles, I encountered a stranger who would soon become a crucial part of my story. This individual, a kind-hearted soul with an infectious smile, struck up a conversation with me about the beauty of imperfection. They spoke of finding strength in vulnerability and the importance of embracing life's unpredictable turns. Their words were like a balm to my weary heart, and as our conversation deepened, I realized that this meeting was not coincidental, but rather an unexpected gift, a sign that my life was slowly, but surely, turning in a new direction. The stranger, who later revealed herself as Maria, turned out to be an advocate for mental health and a passionate supporter of neurodiversity. Maria shared stories of her own family's struggles and triumphs, offering insights that resonated with my journey. She encouraged me to see that my sister, with all her challenges, was not the embodiment of everything I despised. Instead, she was a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that love, in all its messy complexity, could transcend even the darkest of resentments. Maria's influence was profound, and her presence in my life marked the beginning of a slow but steady transformation in how I perceived my past, my family, and myself. In the months that followed, I continued to document every twist and turn of this journey on this very platform. I shared updates about family counseling sessions that brought unexpected moments of laughter and reconciliation, the bittersweet visits with Emily, where we both tentatively reached out to each other, and the gradual softening of a heart that had once been hardened by years of neglect. The comments from this community evolved too, from cautious suggestions to heartfelt expressions of hope and solidarity. One memorable comment read, "Sometimes the most painful truths lead us to the most beautiful beginnings. Keep going, you're not alone in this." Every word, every piece of advice, was interwoven with my daily life, creating a tapestry of healing that was as unpredictable as it was inspiring. As I reflect on the past year, I am overwhelmed by the realization that my journey is far from over. There are still days when the old anger resurfaces, when the memories of a troubled childhood and the weight of family secrets threatened to pull me back into darkness. Yet, I now understand that these moments are part of a larger narrative, a narrative that is filled with unexpected reunions, serendipitous encounters, and the slow, courageous process of forgiveness. I have learned that love can be both a burden and a balm, that the scars of our past are not signs of failure, but rather of survival. Now, as I sit here typing these final words for this third post, I feel a sense of gratitude for every comment, every shared story, and every piece of advice that has helped me along the way. The transformation has been nothing short of miraculous. From a place of unyielding resentment and confusion to a state where hope and healing are within reach. The story that began with a title filled with anger and bitterness has slowly turned into a journey of self-discovery and reconciliation. A story that continues to unfold with each passing day that I am still learning, still struggling. But I now believe that the past does not define our future. Emily and I, despite our differences and the years of separation wrought by misunderstanding, are beginning to find common ground. Our relationship remains complex and far from perfect, but it is evolving into something more genuine, a connection forged through shared pain, mutual growth, and the hope of a better tomorrow. To everyone who took the time to comment on my original post, to those who encouraged me to dig deeper and find the truth beneath the surface, thank you. Your words were not just advice. They were the catalyst for change that helped me see the possibility of forgiveness and self-love. I continue to write these posts as a record of my journey, a living testament to the power of vulnerability and the unexpected beauty that can emerge from even the darkest chapters of our lives. That I leave you with this thought. Sometimes, the hardest truths we must face are not about others, but about ourselves. In our search for understanding, we often uncover the secrets of our own hearts. I remain hopeful that, with time, I will fully reconcile with my past and build a future where love triumphs over anger, where forgiveness is a daily practice, and where the scars of yesterday become the stepping stones to a brighter, more compassionate tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of my journey. I promise to continue sharing, to continue growing, and above all, to continue seeking the light even when the shadows seem too overwhelming to overcome. This is not the end of my story. It is just the beginning of a new chapter, one where every comment, every piece of advice, and every unexpected twist leads me closer to the person I am meant to be. Looking back on the path I've traversed, from the searing pain of resentment to the slow embrace of understanding, I can only marvel at how life, in all its unpredictable turns, can lead us from darkness to light. Each comment on my posts wasn't merely a reaction. It was an invitation to dig deeper, to confront the hidden wounds, and ultimately, to find redemption. The journey has been tumultuous, filled with surprising family secrets, soul-stirring conversations, and moments of vulnerability that I once thought impossible. I have learned that even the most entrenched feelings of anger and isolation can be transformed by compassion, patience, and the shared wisdom of a community that understands the weight of our human experiences. That my sister, Emily, remains a constant presence in my life, sometimes challenging, often heartwarming, and always a reminder of the complexities that make us human. With each day, I strive to balance the love that binds us with the pain of our past, knowing that both are essential to the tapestry of our shared existence. And while my story is far from conventional, it is real, a testament to the unpredictable beauty of life, where even the deepest wounds can give way to healing and unexpected hope. I share my story not as an excuse for the pain I once inflicted upon myself and my sister, but as a message to anyone who feels trapped by their past, overwhelmed by the scars of familial struggle, or burdened by the weight of their own unresolved emotions. There is always a path forward, a path illuminated by the advice of strangers, the courage of self-reflection, and the unyielding promise that tomorrow holds the potential for redemption and growth. So, as I close this final entry, I extend my gratitude to every soul who read my original post, who dared to offer advice, and who joined me on this long, winding journey of discovery. This isn't just my story. It's a story of transformation that belongs to all of us who have ever felt lost, angry, or alone. I invite you to continue the conversation, to share your own experiences, and to know that in our shared vulnerabilities lies the power to heal, to forgive, and to ultimately find peace. Thank you for listening, for caring, and for walking with me as I turn the page on a painful chapter, embracing instead a future where understanding and love shine brighter than the shadows of the past.